Hey guys, we are ready to finish the origins of Christianity lecture. Okay, so you guys remember that what I said about the word apostle. An apostle was one of Jesus's 12 best friends. Well, now we're going to talk about this guy that is kind of considered the 13th apostle. People call him an apostle, but he was not one of these 12. This guy did not even know Jesus, didn't know him. But this guy's name is Paul. Paul converted to Christianity. To convert means like you believe one thing and then you change your mind with like all your heart and all your mind and all your spirit, everything. You really, really, really believe this new thing now. Well, Paul not only was not a Christian, he didn't even like the Christians. And then one day he said that he had a vision and like Jesus came to him in a dream and told him to follow him. And so he did. And after he converted, he became like a super Christian. He became really, really, really Christian. And he started trying to get everybody else to become a Christian. He was traveling all over talking to people about Jesus and talking to people about this awesome Messiah that was sent by God to save us from the oppression of the Romans. And Paul, I mean, really, we're talking like super Christian. That's why they call him an apostle. But definitely remember that he wasn't actually one of the original 12. Like this guy didn't even know Jesus. It was long after Jesus had died that Paul had a vision, and it was Jesus telling him to follow him. And so Paul traveled all the way to Greece. Paul traveled all over the Roman Empire trying to get people to convert and become followers of the Christ. And Paul, helped convert lots and lots and lots of Gentiles. Do you guys remember what Gentiles are? Gentiles were people that were not Jewish. Anyone, I'm a Gentile, you're a Gentile. Anyone that is not Jewish is a Gentile. And he did a really big push of trying to convert Gentiles to follow the Christ. And while he was doing this, he wrote lots of letters, lots and lots and lots of letters. He wrote to, like, he would go to one place and get a little community of people together to follow the Christ. And then he would leave to go to another town to try to get people to follow the Christ. And then he would go to another town. Well, while he was in one town, he would write a letter back to some of the other places that he had visited. And those letters are put together, and a whole bunch of them are in the Bible. And they're called epistles. I don't know why. Please don't ask me. I have no idea why. But they're called epistles. And those are the letters Paul wrote to his new Christian communities as he was moving around. So as this Christianity was growing, more and more and more people were following this Christ guy, it started becoming its own separate thing. Like they weren't Jews that believed in the Christ. They started really becoming their own religion. And they were calling themselves, I mentioned this before, Christians, followers of the Christ, which is the Messiah that God sent the Jews to help protect them from the Romans who were oppressing them. Christianity, one of the things that helped Christianity spread was the roads and the peace. Remember, I did that whole thing, all roads lead to Rome, and the Roman army built roads all over the empire. And those roads were mostly, they were built for the soldiers, but anyone could use them. So there were roads all over the Roman Empire, and it was really, really easy to move from one place to another. Also, the Romans had gotten rid of all the pirates in the sea, right? So now it's safe to hop on a boat to go from one place to another. It's safe to go from one village to another on the road. There's peace. There aren't people fighting everywhere. And so it was pretty easy for word to spread about this Christ person. Also, Paul was writing all these letters. He was like a letter writing madman. Paul was always writing letters. And he wrote his letters in the Greek language. And Greek was the most commonly spoken language in the eastern part of the Roman Empire. And so it's not like the only person that saw that letter was the one person it was addressed to. Think of when someone sends you, I don't know, a funny text message. You show it to all your friends, right? Everybody, look. Well, the same thing happened with these letters. Paul would send a letter and then they would pass it around and show the letter, and everybody in the town read this letter. And so that was spreading Christianity. People also, they really liked the idea of just having one God. Think of the Romans, the traditional Roman religions and all their gods. If your daughter's sick, you have to go pray to one God. If your son is sick, you have to go pray to another God. If your farm is failing and your crops aren't growing well, you have to go to another God, and you have to sacrifice animals at all these places and burn candles, and there are all these different gods. You want it to rain, you go to one God. You want it to be windy, you go to another God. Well, the Christians were saying, no, all that's wrong. There's only one God. There's just one God that you have to pray to. Well, hey, that's pretty convenient, only one God. Also, the Christian God, these people said that the Christian God claimed that everyone was equal. This Christian God loved slaves just as much as he loved rich people. So that really appealed to the slaves, the poor people and the slaves and the people that have just, had a hard time. They get to have a God that loves them. All of this together helped really spread Christianity. The good roads, the safety, the no pirates, the letters from Paul, the only having to pray to one God, the fact that this God loves slaves just as much as he loves rich people. This stuff was great. People loved it. Now the Romans, it's very, very important to remember how really important religion and praising the gods was to the Romans. Remember when we were talking about the race of arms I mean, the race of arms, the race of honors. And we were talking about all these political positions. I'm writing offices like government offices. Well, some of those government officials, it was their job to take care of the temples. It was their job to make sure people were worshiping the gods properly. And they believed, hopefully you remember this when I taught this, they believed that the reason that Rome was so strong was because they were pleasing the gods. The gods were happy with them. And so Rome was thriving. Well, as the empire was getting bigger and bigger, they were encountering people of different religions. And most of the time, the Romans were okay with that. What they really wanted was, like they said, people could keep their religion, but you also have to start praying to our gods. You can pray to your gods, that's fine, but you have to pray to our gods too. And that's kind of how they got okay with it. They thought it was all right. The gods would be okay with it as long as these new people were praying to them too. The gods wouldn't really care if the people were praying to other gods, as long as they were praying to them too. Well, the Romans, they didn't really like the Jews, but they tolerated them. They tolerated them, and they didn't force the Jews to pray to their gods. And it's because the Jewish religion is so old. These people, old, centuries old, these people have practiced their one religion. And so the Romans kind of looked the other way, weren't really too bothered by the Jews just praying to their one God. But now, this new religion, all new religion has come up. And these guys are refusing to worship the Roman gods. And the Romans are mad. Because the Romans tell the Christians, whatever, you can pray to your God as long as you pray to our gods too. And the Christians wouldn't do it. They were like, no, your gods aren't even real. Your gods aren't real. It's our God that's real. Our God is the one real God. Your gods, they're all just fake. You're worshiping fake gods. And the Romans got mad because, the Romans believed that it was the fact that they were pleasing their gods that was making their empire bigger and bigger, and everyone was healthy and happy and at peace because they're pleasing the gods. So they're forcing everyone to pray to their gods. But these Christians, they're refusing to do it. So it made the Romans really mad. In the year 64 CE, there was a big fire in the city of Rome. Fire in Rome. Almost the whole city burned down. It was really bad. Now, remember back then, most buildings and homes were built of wood. So, and they didn't have access to water coming out of a sink like we do. If fire goes through a city, it's bad. And the emperor at the time was named Nero, and Nero blamed the Christians. He said the fire was the Christians' fault. So that was, after that, he started persecuting Christians. Persecuting. I'll write it again for you. Persecute. I know it's messy, sorry, but persecuting the Christians being really mean to them, like charging Christians extra taxes, telling Christians you can't live in this part of town. To persecute someone means like to be mean to them. He started persecuting the Christians, and it wasn't just him personally, it was like the government. He gave the government, he gave the magistrates permission to be mean to Christians. And at that time, lots of people left Christianity. Lots of them quit being Christians because the government was being so mean to them. But some people had such strong faith that they stayed Christian. They would stay Christian even through death. If a Roman soldier drew his sword and said, "Go to the temple right now and pray to my Roman God, or I'm going to kill you." Some of them accepted death, and that's called a martyr. A martyr is someone that dies for their beliefs, die for their religious beliefs. It has to be religious beliefs. Dies for their religious beliefs. And when some people had such incredible faith that they would die for what they believed in, it made other people convert to that faith. Say, "Oh, if that person's willing to die for it, it must be the one true religion." So, some people were leaving because they were being persecuted. Other people were coming in because they were seeing these martyrs and thinking, "Wow, that religion must be awesome." So, in the year 313, the Roman emperor at the time, his name was Constantine. Constantine was not a Christian. In fact, he was totally down with persecuting the Christians. And so, I'm sorry, let me go back. It had been a long time. Remember Nero? Nero was in 64. And now we're talking about 313. It's a long time of persecuting the Christians. Christianity back then was not a common religion. This was something that people had to hide. They were like in the basements of their houses talking about the Christ, because if they did it out in the open, they could get hurt or imprisoned or executed or whatever. So it was really not much of a religion. So, but in 313, the Roman Emperor Constantine was at war, and he had a dream where Jesus came to him and told him that he needed to fight under the cross, the symbol of Christianity. Like back then when people fought, or still today, when people fight, they take like the flag of their country into war with them. So they would have this flag of who they were fighting for. And Constantine had a dream that he was supposed to fight under the Christian cross. And so he did. He gave his soldiers like Christian cross flags to carry. Like, this is a flag with the cross on it, and somebody's standing here holding it. And they won. They won. And when they won, Constantine was convinced that it was because they used these flags with a cross, and that's why they won. And so then he converted to Christianity. And he ended persecution. Persecution. He ended persecution of Christians. This makes like Christianity is now legal. You can legally be a Christian without being executed or beaten up or put in prison. You can be out on the street and say, hey, I'm a Christian. So that was a big thing. He legalized Christianity. Then, many years later, on February 27th, 380 CE, a different emperor named Theodosius made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. This is big. Before this, the official religion of the Roman Empire was all these different gods. You know, they had all the gods that we've talked about before, and they had all the temples that magistrates had to take care of, and the government itself, it was the government's job to please the gods. Well, now the official religion of the Roman Empire is now Christianity. So it is the official job of the Roman government to please the Christian God. And he also started doing the thing that the Christians hated. He started persecuting anyone that wasn't Christian. So now everything's turned, flipped over. All of a sudden now the government is persecuting anyone that's not Christian. All the people that worshiped the Roman gods, everybody else. If you're not a Christian, now they're persecuted. And we are finished.